They call us infidels and want to kill us. Is there a way to keep America from becoming Europe? Stay tuned. I'm Janet Porter, guest host with today's edition of Truth and Liberty.
Welcome to the Truth and Liberty Show, where trusted leaders bring biblical insights to important issues to help you stand for truth and effect godly change in our nation and in our world.
Welcome to Truth and Liberty. I'm Janet Porter. So glad to be here with you today. I am joined by one of my good friends. I used to have her on the radio all the time because why? She's right in the middle. She knows what to do to act for America. In fact, she founded Act for America. She's the chairman. She's the CEO. She's the founder. And I remember Brigitte Gabriel, if I get your name pronounced right in the French accent. Brigitte, let me just first say welcome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, my friend. And you can call me anything except late for dinner. So go for it. Brigitte,
you go. Well, I remember
works.
back in the day when we were first talking, you had, I think it was like a dozen chapters of Act for America. Now what are you up to?
Oh, my goodness. Now we have 5 million members. We have helped pass 300 bills at the federal level and the state level to protect America. We have 756,000 activists on the ground in 97% of U.S. counties. I mean, can you imagine, like you said, you and I have known each other for a long, long time. And this is what I tell Christians who say, what's the use of fighting? Our country is going down to hell in a handbasket. I tell people, can you imagine if I would have quit back 20 years ago? Look at where we are today. The name of the game is tenacity. You keep on pushing, you stay in the game, and you continue fighting for our country. And that's what we all need to be doing, especially at this time in our history.
Well, you are an inspiration. I'm going to tell you something. I'm raising the bar on what I want to do in life because you're moving and shaking. But a lot of people just I need a brief little synopsis because people are wondering if they haven't heard from you before, which is kind of surprising if that would be the case. But if they haven't heard, why in the world are you involved in the issues that you're fighting? And tell us what they are.
Well, I'm very concerned about freedom and what's happening in America today. And the reason why I cherish freedom the way I do is because I was not born in the United States. I was born and raised in Lebanon, which used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. We were open-minded, we were fair, we were tolerant, we were multicultural. We prided ourselves on our multiculturalism. We had open borders. We welcomed everybody into Lebanon because we wanted to share with them the westernization which we had created in the heart of the Middle East. Unfortunately, people came into our country who did not share our values. We allowed them to come and stay in our country, fully knowing they did not share our values. And when people would say, oh, we hate you, we want to change you, we didn't believe them because we thought, they're just a radical minority. They don't really mean it. They don't represent the rest. Well, unfortunately, my 9/11 happened to me in 1975 by these same radical Islamists who blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble wounded. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months and later ended up spending 7 years of my life from the age of 10 till the age of 17, robbed of my youth, hiding in a bomb shelter, fighting to survive. So when I ended up coming to the United States, I immigrated to the United States in 1989. I thought I left all the crazies behind. 9/11, 2001 changed all that for me. It made me realize that what I used to think was a regional problem in the Middle East, contained in the Middle East between radical Islamic radicals who wanted to fight the Christians and Jews in the Middle East, has now become a worldwide problem. And 9/11 was a defining moment for me, just like it was for the United States. And that's when I decided I can either sit on the sidelines and just watch what's happening on the news, or I can actually take my passion, my life experience, coming from a background in media, understanding the Middle East, and trying to do something to make a difference for the country. And that's where my passion comes from. And that's why I started my organization, Act for America. And I named my organization, Janet, Act for America, not think about America, not hope for America, not wish for America, not pray for America, but act for America. Because we can hope and wish and pray, and we all do, but without taking action, nothing changes. And I encourage people, if my message resonates with you, go to actforamerica.org right now and join us.
Well, I think that's why we've always gotten along so well. I'm faith to action, right? You're just turning
That's right.
people of faith into people of action. That's where it's at, and that's what we need to do. But let's just look right now. I'm always interested in finding out, where is the battle the hottest. I'm looking at the movement of Sharia law into Texas. I'm seeing what's happening in New York, where we've got not only a Muslim but a Marxist who now wants to take property rights away. We're seeing the funneling of funds coming from overseas to try and take the power, the centers of power and influence in the various positions politically. I want to get your lay of the land, where we need to be, what we need to do, so that America doesn't become Europe. Because it's when you've got an open door and let everybody in, there's a whole bunch of people that come in, and not everybody shares your beliefs. In fact, some of those people, as you've just said, they're not necessarily the minute minority that want to take America over and turn it into some kind of well, they called I'm trying to think of outside of Detroit. What's the name of the city they took over in Detroit? What was that? Ann Arboristan. Yeah. It's something that we need to guard against. But where do we need to start? Where's the threats? Line them up for us.
The concern right now is all over the United States.
Excuse me. It's Dearbornistan.
Dearbornistan. That's right. The threat right now is nationwide. You know, they say in business, in overnight success takes 20 years. The Islamists have been organizing for years. When we look at what's happening with Epic City in Texas, or what's happening in New York, they didn't get like that overnight. I remember going to Texas and speaking in Texas starting in 2007. Nobody wanted to listen. They said, "Oh, those Arabs, we don't really care. There's no problem in Texas. Nobody will ever do anything in Texas." Well, you know what? A lot of things happened between 2007 and 2026. And that's how you get to an Epic City type style. All of a sudden, people in Texas woke up and say, "How did this happen? We didn't even realize we had a problem in Texas." The same thing in New York. The same thing in Michigan. The same thing is happening right now all over the country, Janet. What people don't realize is people are concerned about Mamdani in New York. Oh my gosh, we elected a Muslim mayor in the biggest city in the United States. Most people don't realize that in that same election, Janet, that Mamdani won, 76 Muslims ran for office, 76 candidates, 42 Muslims won election, 6 mayors. Mamdani is 1 out of 6 mayors who won on that day. Like I said, 42 Muslims won offices, 20 city council members, 4 state legislators, 2 federal judges, 6 school board members, and the list goes on and on. So what's happening all across the country, people are not realizing because they're not connecting the dots. They only hear Epic City in Texas, oh my gosh, Mamdani in New York. What about the other 42 Muslim elected officials who were elected from city council to state legislators to federal judges to school board members, etc.? This is the problem happening nationwide. Now, we're not against Muslims. America has been a nation that welcomed people for centuries from all over the world. Come to the United States, become anything you want to be. The problem is not that we are against Muslims. We are against people who want to transform our country to the point where it is unrecognizable to the rest of us. So when you look at what's happening in New York, when you look at what's happening in Dearborn, when you look at what's happening with whether it's through the education system, whether it's through Sharia schools in our country, people who are, Sharia law is completely compatible with the United States Constitution. This is the concern with people having dual loyalty to their ideology, an ideology that is not compatible with the United States Constitution. That's where we start worrying about the direction of the country.
You got to really look that this isn't a religious issue; it's a political issue.
No.
And I want to have you address that because this was just a religious. They can have freedom of religion in America. You can do whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. Why are you so geared against how many Muslims win? They let them win if that's America. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm going to start with the freedom of religion issue because it is very important. America has been a nation that prided ourselves on freedom of religion. We wanted people to come from all over the world, people who are persecuted. Come to America. You're welcome to build a temple. You're welcome to build a synagogue. You're welcome to build a mosque. You're welcome to build a Hindu temple, a church, whatever you want. America is the place where you are allowed to pray and practice your religion freely. What makes Islam different than Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism is Islam forces its law on the rest of the people who did not choose it. So when you look at Islam, Islam is a political ideology cloaked in religion. And to give you a simple example, we see through entire public school districts, and if you want to look at Europe, we're going to start with Europe, halal meat is forcibly served in the school system. They're not allowed to eat pigs. They're not allowed to serve ham. They must serve halal meat. Why? Your students who do not want to eat the beef that I want to eat can choose not to eat it. They can pack their own lunch. Why should a whole school district be subjected to eating halal meal only and no other meat is allowed to be served in the school system? No other religious group that has ever come to our country inserted its demands into our public institution nationwide. And so what we are seeing with Islam is the enforcement of their laws in our land simply because it is not compatible with their Sharia law. For example, you are seeing police officers or you are seeing women who says, I want to take my picture for my driver's license with a complete hijab without showing my face. We don't accept that in the West. The police has got to be able to identify your face in case something happens. So just because your religion does not allow you to unveil yourself to take a picture on a driver's license, if you have a problem with that, maybe you should immigrate to Saudi Arabia, or maybe you should immigrate to Indonesia or another Islamic country that may allow something like that because it's a part of their culture, not in our culture. So this is where you are seeing those demands being pushed on the rest of us and having us abide with these demands simply because they are forcing our culture, our people to adapt to their laws than the other way around. Well, you know, they say when in Rome, do what the Romans do. What's happening right now is the Islamists are immigrating into our Western culture. It doesn't matter where. Australia, Canada, Spain, Britain, France, Sweden, you name it. They are forcing their traditions on the host country instead of adapting to the host country way of life.
You know, when I saw AOC, the representative who was standing next to the mayor of New York, and instead of saying, you know, we have different views and different cultures, she's putting on the head wrap, the hijab, and she's basically saying, I mean, I don't know where the women's rights movement is, where the feminists are today, but they're basically saying, yeah, we're gonna align ourselves with a very system that has been oppressing women and abusing women. I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, it is. You know, it is abhorrent for a woman like me who comes from the Middle East, who grew up in the Middle East, who understands how Islam treats women, and having seen people, women in the Middle East being mistreated, raped, killed, in honor killing, thrown in prison, tortured. I know what they do to women in the Middle East and how it's not a choice. I mean, look at the Iranian women. The Iranian women are laying their life on the line. They're dying because they are refusing to wear the hijab. How many Muslim women died because they refused to wear the hijab and killed because the morality, the Islamic morality police arrested them, threw them in jail and killed them and tortured them because of that. And to see women in the United States dimbats, absolute nitwits who have never been subjugated to living in Islamic land or adapting to Islamic law, like AOC, standing and saying, oh, it's a religious expression. And, here in America, having a wear your hijab day and glamorizing it, going to schools. Oh, why don't you try this hijab on? So at the same time, while you have women dying in the Middle East for refusing to wear the hijab, you have women in the West who are forcing women or glamorizing or making it fashionable to wear a hijab. And what people here don't realize is America leads the world. America has a responsibility. People who have freedom have a responsibility because the rest of the world looks at them. Because the rest of the women in the world look at American women as a champion for freedom. They look at American women as you are our voice. You are our lips and tongues. It's through you. We depend on you to fight for our rights so we can have the rights that you have. Because in America, you are able to speak freely. You are able to speak on behalf of women. You are able to speak about whether or not we should wear a hijab because your leaders listen to you. So can you imagine how other women in the rest of the world look at AOC and all these Islamic women who are making it fashionable to wear a hijab? The rest of the women in the world are looking at American women and thinking, what is wrong with you? How can you look at yourself in the mirror and do this? And this is why I have a problem with that. I have a major problem with that. But we should not be surprised because the Islamists and the leftists have made a pact together. They are coming together. They are working together because they have a common enemy. We are their enemy. The Islamists are using the leftists as the useful idiots to advance an Islamic agenda. And the useful idiots like the AOC and her in Congress are nothing more than pawns that are being used at the hands of Islamists to advance an agenda. And once Islam is done with them, they will have nothing to do with them. And that's what the AOC and the likes don't realize.
I'm just looking right now at the grand scheme. Take a look at the map, all right? Where is it where the threat is the greatest? You say it's everywhere, but there's a place to start. Where would that be, and what can we do?
The place to start is, again, everywhere. There are a bigger problem in Wichita, Kansas than there is in Texas. There are problems in Oklahoma than there are in Texas. Texas was just publicized because of Epic City. I can tell you that my organization, Act for America, last week we were dealing with 5 different states where communities, Islamic communities, were building Epic City-like Islamic centers. Oklahoma, Florida, Massachusetts, Connecticut. I mean, people they don't even realize, it's not even in the news, but they are mushrooming and they are growing nationwide, and they understand that nobody is paying attention. In Texas, because it is Texas and because it is very close to Dallas, they were building that Epic City, and because it wasn't that complex of the cities coming together, that's when they woke up. And this is why, because the founders of the Sharia Free Caucus in Congress are from Texas, that's why you heard a lot about it. The problem is nationwide, from San Diego to New York and beyond, from coast to coast. And for people who are concerned about this issue, I encourage them to go to our website, actforamerica.org right now. Click on Join Us. Start a chapter in your community. We are mobilizing the nation nationwide. We have added, since January, 318 chapters nationwide. We want you joining us, no matter what state you live in right now. I know people are watching this on the internet all over the country. No matter where you are right now, if you are concerned about the rise of radical Islam in our country, the cultural invasion, the influencing of the political impact in our nation, go to actforamerica.org, start a chapter in your community, become a member, sign up to receive our emails and action alert, support us and stand with us financially, become a contributing member. We need you by our side as we fight this fight nationwide.
So those are the first steps. Let me just say right here, Texas was the big spotlight because everybody talked about that. They want a community where they practice Sharia law. Is that what they're going for? Is that the plan?
Yes, they want an inclusive community where they have Islamic madrasas, Islamic mosques, Islamic community. I mean, can you imagine if whites in America decided we're going to have a white only community? No blacks, no Muslims, no Hindus. It's going to be a white evangelical community. And we're going to have our own schools and we're going to have our own compound. We're going to name the streets Christian names, Peter and John and Paul. And nobody is allowed to live in our community. What do you think will happen in the rest of the country? They will be enraged if something like this happens. So why are we allowing the Islamic community to get away with this? We in
So
America.
tell me, sorry, I didn't interrupt you, except I want to know what that looks like. Is that where they whip women or stone them or put them in jail for wearing fingernail polish? I mean, is this what we're talking about?
No. They're not going to do that in the United States. But what they are already doing in the United States is women who have a problem, for example, a family problem, family law. This is where it becomes very problematic. So let's say a woman is being beaten by her husband or being tortured or even raped by her husband. If she calls the police says, well, you have to call because you are, let's say, Egyptian. You are judged under Egyptian law or under Sharia law. You need to go to the Islamic Council in your community and you need to be judged by that Islamic Council. And so this is what's happening. And the pressure on women who are living within these communities, they feel ostracized if they go outside of that community. And so if a woman is divorcing her husband, for example, the laws that affects the children, the man will have custody over the children. So there are laws that impact so much in that community, and we do not want that to happen. What makes immigrants, what makes countries great is when new immigrants who come to these countries assimilate into that culture. So for centuries, since the United States, look, we're celebrating our 250th anniversary, our birthday, 250th birthday this year. So we have had people for centuries come from all over the world to the United States. They assimilated. They adapted our culture. We did not have a problem with Buddhists coming into this country. We did not have problems with Jews coming into this country. We did not have problems with Baha'is coming into this country. We did not have problem with any other religious sect that immigrated into the United States, including Muslims who have immigrated for the last 100 years into the United States. They did not have their own laws. They did not have their own neighborhoods. They did not have their own institutions. They merged and adapted into our culture. That's what makes a country great. But now what we are witnessing in America is a group of people who completely is repulsed against our values, our culture, what we stand for, our laws, who want to create a parallel society within our own country with a parallel legal system that is not compatible with our Constitution. That's what we do not want happening in America, because all you have to do is look at Europe and look what's happening in Europe right now. Europe has become Eurabia. It's no longer Europe. We do not want to be going down the same path. This is the United States of America. People are welcome to come to the United States as long as they adapt our culture and our values and they assimilate into our American culture. If they want to assimilate into an Islamic culture, maybe they should consider immigrating to Saudi Arabia or Bahrain or the UAE, Jordan, Egypt. They can take plenty of Islamic countries they can pick from, but not the United States.
Wow, that's a lot to realize, that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, trumps anything you want to do. All right, so women, you still have rights, whether you're in they want to try and push you down. This is very, very troubling when you see what can we do about it. So I know you say sign up, and I know you say go on the website, but I want to know a practical first step. Besides that, we've done that, and they want to bring in this Islamic center down the block from you. All right. Is the fact that President Trump has declared groups like CARE and others as the Islamic Council of Foreign Relations, that they are now terrorist groups, is that a way to try and stop this?
Well, that's exactly what we are working on in Congress. This is a part of the bills that we are working on. And this is why I tell people, make sure you sign up to receive our emails and action alerts. So when we have a bill coming down for a vote in your state, or when it is introduced, we send an Act Now campaign. So when you go to our website, on the banner on the top, you see Act Now. You see all the bills that we are working on in Congress where you can take action. Part of these bills is designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Over 28 million million emails and phone calls went to Congress through the Act for America website, urging them to do that. We are working with the Sharia Free Caucus, and we have now a campaign on our website, an Act Now campaign, to start a Sharia Free Caucus in your state. Get your elected officials, your state legislators, to start a Sharia Free Caucus in your state. We have many bills working on no Sharia in the United States, for example. We have a bill called American Laws for American Courts that says no law that is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution should be practiced in any American courtroom. And the reason why we introduced this bill, Janet, is because we wanted to make sure that if you are a company doing business with a company in England and you got into litigation and you ended up going to court, well, it's okay if you want to be judged under British law, because British law is compatible with the U.S. Constitution. But if you are doing business with a company in Indonesia, and that company said, we want to be judged under Indonesian law, well, that law is not compatible with the United States Constitution. So we wanted to make sure we protect companies, we protect people, we protect women. And this is why we call it American Laws for American Courts. So these are some of the type of bills that we are working on. If you go to actforamerica.org, click on Act Now, and just start taking action on the multiple bills that we have. You could literally click by category: national security, education, supporting law enforcement, whatever you are concerned about. We cover many issues, not just radical Islam. We stand with law enforcement. We want to make sure police is funded in our communities. We want to make sure ICE is funded to get rid of the criminals and clean our communities. So these are a lot of the issues, educational issues that we care about. So please go and take action. And this is why I say education is important, but education without action is insufficient. Education must be coupled with action. And that's why we have our Act Now campaigns. When we know about a bill coming down for a vote, we send you an email about it, the name of the bill. We give you the names of your elected officials when you enter your information, so we know that you are, for example, from Indiana. This is why we need your address, not just your email. You cannot contact your elected officials without us knowing that you are actually from Iowa or from Indiana or from Alaska, so we can connect you with your elected officials. You send them an email about the bill. The email is already written. You don't even have to think about what to write. With one click of a button, your email is sent directly to them. It doesn't come to me. It goes directly to your members of Congress. We have a petition for you. We have social media memes that are prepared specifically for you. With one click, you can share it on your Facebook, on your Twitter, whatever social media that you have. And then we give you their phone number with a script that you could literally read off of your computer screen as you are talking to them. We made it so simple, Janet, that anybody can take action in under 30 seconds and make a difference for the country.
That's why you're being so effective. That's amazing. I met this weekend with members of the Sharia Free Caucus in Congress. How many members do you have there now that are part of that?
I think right now they are over 65.
That's
which
fantastic.
is amazing. I mean, think about it, Janet.
Is.
You and I have been talking for 20 years. Can you imagine 20 years ago us talking about a Sharia-free caucus in Congress? I remember George Bush in his last 2 years could care less. He didn't want to do anything. And then Obama came, and nobody wanted to talk about, nobody even could say radical Islam. Not only we couldn't talk about Islam or radical Islam, we were not even allowed to utter these words. Who would have thought, when you and I were talking 20 years ago, that in 2026, under the second term of President Trump, we're going to have over 65 members of Congress who are members of the Sharia Free Caucus?
Because they've been to Europe. They've seen what happens. They've been to the United Kingdom. They've seen what it looks like, and it's not pretty. We are talking with Brigitte Gabriel, our good friend for many, many years. She is the founder. She's the chairwoman of Act for America. She's a national security analyst. She is a best-selling author. We're going to talk about her book and how you can get plugged in so that you can act for America, because there is a threat, and that threat is real. And there's something you can do about it. I want to talk about the fear of being called an Islamophobe. I want to talk about what we do when they threaten you. These are people that have a history of actually following through on some of these threats. So we're going to talk about safety, how you can fight it while still keeping your family safe. So Brigitte, thank you for joining us. We're going to be back in just a moment, right after this.
Darkness has attacked our nation.
But God is raising a standard. Now is the time to wake up and shine the light across America and around the world. Believers are fighting back, eyes are opening, hearts are changing, and Christ is being proclaimed. In government, education, family, media, and the church, we are mobilizing to engage culture with truth. Go to truthandliberty.net.
Welcome back to Truth and Liberty. I'm Janet Porter, your guest host for today. It's a privilege to be here with you. I love the mission of Truth and Liberty. I love what Andrew Womack is doing, and anytime I could partner and be a part of that and come to the conferences and read the books, do it. I woke up watching an Andrew Womack video this morning. I recommend it. It's a good way to get your day started, to get back in alignment with God. I want to reintroduce our good friend, Brigitte Gabriel. She is a longtime friend. She is a mover and shaker extraordinaire. 5 million members of Act for America. Her new book is Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values. Make sure you pick that up and read it, because it will equip you with an issue that most people don't want to talk about. They are a little bit, not a little bit, they're a lot gun shy for many reasons. But I want to give you that platform. Why are people afraid to address this issue, and what can you do to overcome that?
Well, people are afraid to address it for different reasons. But I'll start with this. You know, in America, we are raised and we are told two things you don't discuss at the dinner table: politics and religion. And what is Islam? It's a political movement cloaked in religion. And so this is one reason why people do not want to talk about it. And the other reason is people are afraid to be called names. See, the left and the Islamists have perfected the way to attack us, to silence us. The left and the Islamists know that all they have to do is slap a label at you to silence you, because Christians and regular normal people do not want to be called names, you know, because we're not Islamophobes, we're not bigots, we're not haters, we're not racists, you know. And the leftists and the Islamists knew that if you open your mouth, they're going to call you racist, bigot, white supremacist. And that's not true, because they know if they can call you a name, because they cannot argue with your facts. All they have to do is call you a name so they can silence you, because the facts are on your side. And so on our side, people are afraid to open their mouth because they think, I'm not an Islamophobe, I'm not a racist, I don't hate anybody, I love people, I pray for people, I'm a Christian. So they shy away and they say, you know what, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and I'm not going to talk about this issue. Meaning they are enabling the leftists and the Islamists to advance their agenda. And a lot of Christians tell me, oh, Brigitte, I'm not an activist. You know, I read my Bible. I pray for my country. I read my Bible every morning. I have my devotion, but I'm not an activist. I tell people Jesus was the first activist. Jesus set the standard for activism. When Jesus saw something wrong happening in that temple, he walked into that temple, he overthrew the tables, he said, not in my house, not in my Father's house. He expressed his displeasure, to put it mildly, in what he saw happening that was wrong in the temple. So God doesn't change the world through lightning in the sky. God uses his people as his instruments of change. And that's why it's not enough to read our Bible. It's not enough to pray for our country. We need to become engaged. We need to become active. We need to become an instrument of change in God's hand to make a difference for the country. And that's why people need to start getting educated on this issue. They need to start speaking out on this issue. They start needing to take action on this issue. How do you think we ended up with the Sharia Free Caucus in Congress and over 65 members joining? Because organizations like Act for America, with 5 million members who don't take no for an answer, who keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because we don't take no for an answer. Keep calling our elected officials, keep writing our elected officials. They say squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you want to see something change in our country, start squeaking, because squeaky wheel gets the oil. Start speaking up, stand on authority. You have the truth on your side. Start taking action. Go to actforamerica.org. Become emboldened. Speak with authority. Speak with facts, and start making a difference for the country.
You know, one of the things that's happening right under our nose is in the mosques themselves. This is from off of X. I looked at this and it says they're preaching this. Not only death to the infidels, which the mayor of New York has been taking pictures and praising this imam, I'm told. But it says when Muslims become the majority of the West, the next 40 years, non-Muslims will have to convert, pay the tax, or be killed because Sharia will rule. Their goal is not convoluted. It's very clear. It's what they want to do. They want world dominance, and they want to subject anybody else who dares to oppose them with not only enslavement or tax, but also death. That's what they want. Death to the infidels. That's what they're chanting in the Middle East. Death to Israel. Death to America. While this is going on, are you sending people in to listen to what's going on inside these mosques?
Well,
they're calling for our demise.
And they're not shy about it. And they're doing this inside mosques in the United States, and they have been doing this inside mosques in the United States for 25 years. This is nothing new. Thank God today, with secret cameras, that people can sneak into these mosques and record them, or record them right off the air. People who subscribe to the mosque, they are watching it live play on whatever Facebook or whatever their sermons are right here in the United States. You know, Janet, we've never been faced with an enemy that is so honest, so direct. They don't lie. They don't beat around the bush. They not only tell us how much they hate us, they brag about how much they hate us. They issue press releases about it. They even send the press releases to Al Jazeera to air worldwide. The problem is we've never been faced with an enemy that tells us exactly what they want to do. The problem is we bury our head in the sand, pretending the problem does not exist, hoping that if we ignore the problem is going to go away on its own. It's not going to go away. It's growing. So if we are at the point at where we are in the United States as well as in Europe, don't blame the Islamists who are very honest on what they want to do. Blame ourselves for burying our head in the sand and refusing to stand up and fight for our country, fight for our values, fight for our laws, fight for our Constitution, fight for our Bill of Rights. Our founding fathers gave up their life, and most of them died broke to give us the country that we have today. The least we can do is fight to preserve that which they have created. And this is my message to those who are watching us right now. Our enemies telling us exactly what they want to do. We need to take them at their word. People tell me all the time, Brigitte, who should we believe? I say, believe those who tell you they want to kill you because they usually follow through. And our enemies telling us exactly what they want to do. They are following their plan, and we are seeing it come to fruition right before our very eyes.
You know, this is one of the memes I saw on X the other day. It says, Islam has a problem with Christians, homosexuals, Jews, women, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, and dogs. And if I say Sharia law is incompatible with the West, I'm the problem. And the other side says, yes, infidel. If they hate you, they want to kill you, believe them. Believe them if they tell you that. And actually be a part of Act for America, to stand up and to fight back. I can't believe the accomplishments that we've seen. I'm all happy I have 16 states that have a heartbeat law. You've passed 300 laws on this issue. That's makes me want to, curl in a ball, and actually it makes me want to rise up and do more. But that's the issue is we can fight back. There's a way to do it, and there's a way that you can be steered with how to do it. You've got the memes, you've got the action steps, you've got what to say, the script when you call. And so if you were to say, where else it is, we've got the Islamic centers that are starting up. You've got those running for office and taking over. It's the Muslim call to prayer that is really just this affront to us. That's happening where? In Dearborn, in New York now? Where else?
Well, it started now in New York and Dearborn that we know about. But you know what? They're not going to stop there, because in any area where they have a majority, that's when you start seeing them push for their way of life. They say, oh, it's an Islamic neighborhood. We are majority Muslims here. We want to have Islamic call to prayer. What are you going to do? Yeah, the irony. I remember when I first came from the Middle East to the United States, Janet, and I remember on Sunday thinking, where are the church bells? I didn't hear any church bells on Sunday. And, coming from the Mediterranean, you go visit Italy, you go visit Spain, you go visit, countries in the Middle East, you hear church bells ringing on Sunday. and nothing in the United States. And they said, oh, well, that's disturbing the peace. So this is why churches cannot ring their church bells on Sunday. And I thought, okay, well, that's American laws. Okay, fine. Now, if churches cannot ring their church bells on Sunday because it disturbs the peace, what about the call to prayers? How come that does not disturb the peace? But see, the only way to stop a bully is if you stand up for that bully. The bully is going to continue bullying you until you learn to stand up. And right now, what we are witnessing is the Islamists in our country are the bullies, and they're bullying the rest of us, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, they are a rough crowd, they are tough, they're gonna call me names, I can't stand against them. And we're just sitting silent and watching the Islamists gain territory, community after community, state after state. So if you do not want what's happening in New York and in Detroit to come to your community, you better start speaking up now, because before you know it, it's going to be in Houston, it's going to be in San Diego, it's going to be in San Francisco, it's going to be in Tampa, Florida, it's going to be in any community where the Islamists have the majority, and you're going to start seeing that coming near you. It's going to be in Northern Virginia. This is why I tell people, no matter where you are watching us from right now, anywhere in the country, start an Act for America chapter, join us. The reason why I'm all about activism is because education is important, but if you're only watching this show is not education. This show is entertainment. If you don't take action by the time this show ends, you have just been entertained for an hour. You might as well be watching Dancing with the Stars. Action starts when you finish being entertained, because when people are entertained, 7 days from now, I guarantee you're not going to remember 30% of what we discussed on this show. What's going to be left is, if you have signed up to take action, then you're going to be notified for laws coming down in your community 6 months down the road from Act for America. That's when we empower you to become an effective citizen, serving your community, becoming a voice affecting your community and our nation, and impacting policy at the local level as well as at the federal level.
Let me get at the issue that's holding a lot of people back, I think. There's some that they're afraid to put a pro-life bumper sticker on their car, and there's threats that have happened. We've all encountered the death threats, but sometimes when they tell you what they want to do, maybe you should believe them. How do you address the safety issue? How do you fight back and still remain safe from those who want to kill you?
Look, people can address the issue. When you make a phone call to Congress sitting in your pajamas at your home, nobody knew that you made that phone call. The Islamists are making the phone calls. The leftists are making the phone calls. Why don't you make a phone call? That's excuses. People say, oh, I'm afraid to take action. That's excuses. Look, I have taken action for the last 25 years. If I would have listened to the fear mongering, if I would have listened to the intimidation, if I would have listened to the labels they threw at me, they called me Islamophobe, they called me xenophobe, they called me a white supremacist. Can you imagine I'm a white supremacist with my skin color, with my features? I'm a woman that comes from the Middle East. If I would have listened to their labels and kept my mouth shut, we would not have 300 bills right now in Congress, as well as at the state level, to protect the country. The secret is keep on pushing, keep on fighting, keep up making those phone calls. When you send a letter to your member of Congress, nobody knows that you sent a letter. Nobody knew that you called your member of Congress. But you know who knew you called your members of Congress? Your member of Congress, because they tally every phone call and every letter written to them. And here's the power behind the numbers. People tell me all the time, why should I call my member of Congress? My voice is nothing. They need to hear from 40 to 50,000 people before they take action. Wrong. I talk to members of Congress all the time. Do you know how many issues they need to hear from to make it an issue their top priority? 40 to 50 people. And that's on the congressional level, at the federal level. 40 to 50 people. Here is the science behind the numbers. They believe if one person makes a phone call or writes a letter, he or she are representing 1,000 couch potatoes who feel the same way, but are too lazy to make a phone call or write a letter, yet they vote on election day. That represents 40 to 50,000 people on election day. Now, I'm sure we have more than 40 people watching this broadcast right now. I'm sure, can you imagine if each one of you makes a phone call right now or takes action, go to actamerica.org, click on Act Now campaign and take action on any of our Act Now campaigns. Your one voice represents 1,000. I want you to remember that. Your voice equals 1,000. So you need to make a phone call. Your wife or husband need to make a phone call. If you have children who are on the same page with you, they need to make a phone call. I'm sure each one of you have at least 3 friends who are on the same page with you politically. Can you imagine if you and your 3 friends each made a phone call? Can you imagine the power at your fingertip, the power of your voice? The reason why we're losing is people are too lazy sitting on their behinds, not taking action and complaining, I'm too afraid. We removed the I'm too afraid reason. Time for everybody to take action. Everybody can make a difference. Start a chapter in your community. A lot of people have a Bible study in their home. Why don't you start an Act for America chapter in your home? Nobody knows you're meeting. You're sending an email to your immediate group of friends, having them come to your house for coffee and tea and snacks and chocolate chip cookies, and you start an Act for America chapter in the privacy of your home. Nobody knows about you. Nobody knows you have a chapter. You can start mobilizing your community. You can start addressing issues in your community, and you are safe in your own home. We will train you. We will mentor you. We will support you. We will connect you with other people in your community to join your chapter, so together you can be a force impacting the elections in your community.
So, all right, here's another motivator. If you don't act, take a look at what's happening in England. Take a look at what's happening in Europe. Show us that picture of what's been allowed to take place, where the most popular names of babies in England are Muhammad. All right, these are real things that are happening that are coming to a city near you if you don't put your faith to action. Tell us what happens if we don't.
Well, again, you gave the example of England. England is a perfect example. Every major city in England right now has a Muslim mayor. Okay? Keep that in mind. So every major city in England has a Muslim mayor. Can you imagine the United States having we already have Mamdani in New York, San Francisco having an Islamic mayor, Atlanta having an Islamic mayor, San Diego having an Islamic mayor, Los Angeles having an Islamic mayor, Dallas having an Islamic mayor, Houston having an Islamic mayor. Just start looking at the cities. If what happens in America is 20 years behind England, and look at the laws that they have been able to impact in England. School board members are pretty much mostly Islamic. So in the schools in England, they're not allowed to learn about the Holocaust. Holocaust education is practically erased out of British schools, okay? Only halal food is served in public schools. Bacon is not allowed to be served. Sausages are not allowed to be served. So you already have seen how Islamic schools and Islamic cities conform already to Islamic laws. And they didn't have to fire one bullet, okay? They didn't have to fire one bullet. They're doing it not by war, but by a cultural invasion. People who came to the country either as refugees, either as they were brought in as relatives of people who have gotten the British citizenship. And that's exactly why President Trump is trying to change the birthright citizenship and all these other ways that people are getting American citizenship simply by being related to somebody who came to the United States before them. Or look at the refugees that we imported into America, like the Somali community, which we deposited in Minnesota. And so this is why President Trump is trying to tighten our immigration laws, and we need to stand by him, and we need to make sure we help him codify every single executive order that he has signed since he came into office to make sure that we turn it into law. So by the time President Trump leaves office, no matter who gets elected after him, at least we have passed laws that would protect the country for generations to come. This is why we are fighting hard, and we need to fight hard, and we need to organize between now and the presidential election, not just the midterm. I'm not talking about the midterm right now. We are organizing for the midterm, and we need you by our side. But I want you to start thinking beyond the midterm. Not only we need to win the midterm, but we need to make sure we have a mobilized grassroots organization devoted to preserving America's culture and identity heading into the next presidential election, to make sure that we do not lose to the left and the Islamists, and we have at least another 4 years after Trump to make sure we have had enough solid 8 years to reverse the tide and all the wins that Obama and Biden and the Islamist and leftist coalition have been able to impact America.
Hey, I want to hear about some of the victories. All right, the victories that include calling these organizations terrorist groups, Muslim Brotherhood, et cetera. The fact that we are controlling our borders now, we are closing our borders right now. But the other thing is there are countries that are fighting. What's the country that says you can't have a hijab? They've outlawed those there. Which country was that?
I think that was the Netherlands. Again, why?
I believe it was. I believe that sounds right.
Because you've got somebody like Geert Wilder that you and I both know and have discussed in the past, when people used to call him radical Islamist, now won the majority, and he is now the political leader in the Netherlands. And the first thing he did, he started basically deporting all the people, all these refugees who are troublemakers in the Netherlands. He is now deporting them. He forbid women from the hijab. So we are seeing these already start in areas in Europe where people like Geert Wilder won the election. And we are actually right now seeing movements in Europe where elected officials are running on the anti-Islam platform. They are no longer afraid to talk about it. But it took them so long that Europe is dying before their very eyes. Europe is at stage 4 cancer. And it's very difficult to reverse the disease when you get to stage 4. They're trying, God bless them, and we need to stand with them. But America is at stage 2 cancer going into stage 3. We can no longer sit on the sidelines. We need to stand up, and we need to fight, and we need to take our country back, and we need to tell those who came to our country and those who are thinking about our country. America is a nation founded on Judeo-Christian value and belief system and freedoms. You want to come to the United States? You're welcome to come, as long as you come legally, you abide by our laws, you respect our Constitution, and you pledge allegiance to our Constitution and our country and no other nation. And those are the type of immigrants we want to come here. Those are the type of bills that we are working on in Congress right now, designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. We're doing that in every state, by the way. We have an Act Now campaign right now to designate the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as terrorist organizations, just like what Texas did, which we worked on, and we helped do that in Texas. We helped do that in Florida. We passed that in Florida. We introduced that in Arizona. And now we are working on every other state. So no matter what state you are in, take action on that alert or on that Act Now campaign, and urge your elected officials to do the same. So we have many bills like that. Remember the bill to revoke the visas of Muslim students in our universities who are linked to terrorism and support Hamas and terrorist organization? Act for America was behind that bill. That bill is on our website right now. Go actforamerica.org, take action on that. So that's just a sample. Defunding the universities who have allowed and supported Hamas after October 7th and all these Muslim terrorist organizations, defunding these universities. Act for America was behind cutting the public funding, our tax dollars, going to Harvard and Columbia and Duke University and all these radical universities, supporting and standing with terrorist organizations instead of the United States.
If you could change one policy in America, one thing you could do today, just hey, make a wish, this could happen, what would it be?
At this time, put a pause on Islamic immigration to the United States until we sort out what we have within the country, who is already here, who deserves to be here, and who needs to be deported.
That's good. Are you making any movements in that direction? It seems that President Trump has spoken along those lines, right?
We are working on that, and that's why you are hearing that type of language coming out of Washington, D.C.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I'm just so privileged to know you. I'm so glad that sometimes you read the news and it's such a downer because yeah, this is bad and this is bad, but what can I do? Well, you actually can do something, and it doesn't have to cost your safety, and it doesn't have to. You know
right.
what? I was talking in another program about Bill Federer gave a speech about the stories we're going to tell in heaven about how. Joseph, he's in prison, and that God, it looked really bad, and yet he had a prophetic word, and yet God brought him to be the second in charge and save his nation from famine. And you've got the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, are in the fiery furnace. The story's going to come to us. What are we going to say? Well, yeah, Sharia took over where I live, but I didn't want to be called a mean name. I didn't want to have to spend 60 seconds on a phone call or 30 seconds connecting to Act for America. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person. I want to be able to tell the stories of how we had freedom in America for another generation. And one of the ways you can do that is read the book. Your book is Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values. You've written some other books too. What are those? Just so people have a handle on what they can be well versed in and how they can fight this on their own.
My first book is titled Because They Hate, and it's a New York Times bestseller, and it's my story, my life story, how I went from Lebanon to Israel and how I came to the United States and how I became an activist. My second book is titled They Must Be Stopped, also a New York Times bestseller, Why We Must Defeat Radical Islam and How We Can Do It. And it teaches you the history of Islam, how it spread across the world, and what we need to do now to stop it. And my last book is Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. I encourage you to read these books, but above all, not just reading. Reading is important. I encourage you to go to actforamerica.org, become a member, join us, stand proudly with us, support our work, start a chapter in your community, volunteer. Together, we can make a difference. You can become not only one, but you can become one in an army of patriots serving God and our country to make sure we preserve America for the next generation.
Have you thought about having a movie made, making a movie about what you've been through and what you're seeing and where the battle is?
Well, I don't need to make the movie, but I hope some producer will come and say, hey, her life story is great. We need to make a movie about it. So I pray if any producers watching right now, but hey, they say, what makes the best movie is a New York Times bestseller, a book based on real life that has become a New York Times bestseller. I have one. Let's put it into action and mobilize and empower people to understand that their voice matters. God changes the world through his people. We are God's instruments of change, and to whom much is given, much is required. We live in the greatest nation on the face of the planet. We are educated. We have a ton of information at the tip of our fingertip on our keyboard. You heard this presentation right now. You cannot say you did not know. You know what's happening. Let this be your defining moment. Let this be your defining day. Join us. Go to actforamerica.org right now and take action.
So we have 1 minute left, Brigitte. Tell me why you have hope. Give me the hope on how we can change things and turn it around.
I have hope because I believe in the American people. America is a spirit. It's not a geographical location. America is an attitude. America has fire in the belly. American people love America, and they will rise. If you inspire them enough to understand, we can win. See, winning is 50% perception. We are winning. And if you understand that we are winning, we are making a difference, we are going to take our country back, and we do have a chance of victory, we will make a difference.
Praise
That's why
the
I
Lord.
have hope.
Oh, that's fantastic. Brigitte, I'm amazed. From the last time I talked to you in depth, I mean, seen you along the way, but from like a dozen chapters now, you've got 5 million members. You're making a difference, and we want to join in what you're doing. actforamerica.org, is that right?
Yes.
actforamerica.org. The book you want to get is Rise in Defense of American Judeo-Christian Values. It's phenomenal to see, and it gives me hope because when you see all the threats and you see all the areas that they're coming in and occupying, we need to realize this is our country, and we can rise and we can fight for the freedom that our founders fought and died for. So thank you for joining us, Brigitte, and I thank all of you for watching this edition of Truth and Liberty. I'm Janet Porter, privileged to be your guest host, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.